If you don't know, Dana White and TKO, which is Turkey Al Sheik and a bunch of other people have come together and made this massive, uh, I wouldn't even say boxing promotion, just because it's like sports promotion. They're intertwining MMA with UFC. They're intertwining WWE and boxing, and who knows what else they're going to intertwine with in the future. But what I'm getting at is they've talked about the boxing and what they have going on and the league that they're proposing over the last few weeks. And yesterday we got I don't know, was it yesterday? March 19th. So
Yeah.
2 days ago, we have received a pay scale on basically what they'll get paid. So if you look here, it says $20,000 purse for 10-round unranked fighters. So that's anybody that is out of the top 10. Okay.
Right.
So anybody that's not in the top 10 that is fighting under the league will receive a $20,000 purse. And I'm pretty positive that this is $20,000 purse, no incentives, right? Like no knockout bonuses, any of that stuff. This is just pure you show money, right? So that's that, right? You move up from rank 10 to 5, they're getting $50,000. All right. And then you go up a little more, 4 to 3, they get $125,000. And then challenging for the belt, which would be top contender, they will get $375,000. And the defending champion will get $750,000. All right. So this is the pay scale of what they have going on. Now, as far as this compared to UFC fighters, if you look, it's about, like I say, it's about 3 tiers. Hold on, let me actually, boom. All right. There's about 3 tiers of how they get paid. And the lowest tier, which is like the guys just coming in, fresh off Dana White Contender Series, maybe have a fight or two, right? Haven't really made any big waves or hasn't come from a big league. They're making about $10,000 to $30,000, 10 to 30,000, right? Now, the mid-tier guys, I want to say they were saying, right here, it was between $80,000 and $250,000 per fight. So that could be anybody up to like a rising kind of like star contender that actually can bring in people and fill in seats. To somebody who's like right on the cusp of being like in the top 5 or something like that, right? And then the top guys get anywhere from $500,000 to $3 million a fight. That $3 million a fight is really in the John Jones, Conor McGregor, maybe Ronda
Anderson
got somewhere
Silva
close.
money.
Anderson Silva money. Yeah, that's when you're getting pay-per-view points and well. And I'm pretty positive a lot of this includes the points that they get, because UFC is not giving you pay-per-view points if you're on the lower end of the scale anyways. You have to be in the top. You got to be in the top of the.
I don't even think they let you watch a show after that. You just come in on the pay-per-view
card. You got to go. I've heard plenty of UFC fighters say once the show is over, you got to go.
Bye.
So this is the payment for them. So it's kind of similar from the way you see it. It's kind of similar. You could say that, oh well, the guys that are coming in on boxing are making $20,000, you know, as they come in. Now, I guess my question would be is, where is the level that you have to be at for you to get in there? Is it like the UFC, right? Is it like the top of the top of the top, the cream of the crop, right? You can't be just some contender who they think is, no, you have to be like a proven contender. Like, oh no, this guy's had 100 fights in Mexico, amateur, coming over here, he's undefeated, it's that.
You're not walking off the street doing this.
Yeah, you're not just walking off the street and getting an opportunity at 20,000. So I guess, how would you say, does this set a new precedent? And do you think like maybe this will cause issues with the UFC fighters? It isn't much more. I think it's kind of like in the same range, but it could be arguments there of this starting at 20,000, because most of the guys, you know, that come in, they get 10 in the UFC. And they're getting 10. I think what is it, 10-10 or something?
Yeah,
like that?
there's some that make like 10-10. I think some have even made a little bit less than that. A lot of them tend to make like 11-11 or something like that. I think the one aspect that you also need to see, though, of this is, I'm wondering how many of those fighters that are unranked they're going to have, because the UFC has a lot of those 10-10 guys, but a lot of them are really, they're developing. They put them on the early prelims so that where there's not a lot of eyes on them.
Or fight
But
night.
Or fight night, yeah.
But they get to experience the big show. They get to experience the big lights. They fall into the UFC ecosystem, and they can start promoting themselves as a UFC fighter, which has other market appeals where they can really start growing their own personal brand. But I do wonder if they brought it up to 20K. I feel like a lot of those developing fighters, there are some fighters that probably would have never made it to the UFC because I think they would start cutting down on those fighters and really upping the ante of what level they accept bare minimum to get into the UFC. They might not, because right now they want to grab the prospect before one championship, PFL, etc., gets them and makes them into a big name.
Yeah, because one championships, theirs is, I think theirs is weird. I have to go and get I don't want to say it
that would be an
properly,
interesting
but yeah, that's the thing too, right? Is what's the skill level going to be at, right? And I think that is what we're going to see. It's going to be, it may be a scarcity in this league.
So
go ahead, Mal.
One thing I want to bring up, and also just because you see the numbers on the screen, is that don't forget, none of this is covering paying your coach. Perhaps there's a gym fee, perhaps there's an agent fee, perhaps there's an additional coach fee, jiu-jitsu, boxing, whatever. But just think about this for a second. What's the amount of time? Let's say you take minimum to no damage. What's the average amount of times you think you can fight in a year if you're just?
Well, they said from what the videos and that I watched, they said that basically they were going to offer them up to 4 fights a year, based off kind of like the UFC structure, right? Well,
so let's go back. Let's go 4.
Barring injury, barring no injury, you can fight 4 times a year.
So let's go 4. I know Mac is good with math. 4 times 20K. Well, there you go. You got that right there.
Yeah.
And that's assuming you take no damage, nothing else happens. Now, let's just say also you're not getting the outside sponsorship. And don't forget that was taken away from the UFC by the UFC multiple years ago. Guys could supplement their earnings by selling Prince in the Short, walkout, a number of different things, even hats, so on and so forth. But even if you're not giving money away to your corner, to your gym and everything else, that's a lot of money to be making for the amount of damage that you're going to be taking. Now, of course, everybody has a dream, everybody has talent, and I understand that you just can't come walking in making top dollar numbers. But there's a lot of risk involved before you can get to be the hot shit prospect, so that you can get these numbers. So going back to Dana White's original question, so you want to be a fighter? I mean, are these numbers enough to get punched in the face with small gloves 4 times a year for you, bar none? Is this enough for you, Apollo, to do this? I'm just saying, what can you do with this amount of money in a year, living the life that you live right now? Not thinking living big and living large, but can you fit yourself in this box and these figures?
Wait, is TKO boxing going to use different gloves?
No, I'm
I don't know. I think they're going to stick with it.
So yes,
nah. He's basically saying, like, are you willing to?
I was prepped for this.
Hey, there you go.
He's basically saying, like, are you willing to make 80, like, use your force or 80K a year, to get punched by these 4 ounce, whatever, 3 ounce gloves? But yeah, man, it's interesting. I think the real question is, it's sustainable. I know a lot of boxers, they don't get paid shit. Even MMA fighters outside of the UFC, it's I heard some of what these people get. I was actually shocked. I thought people get paid quite a bit more than that, but it's on a very low end.
I mean, if you
the reason why so many karate combat like MMA fighters want to go to karate combat is because it has the reputation to pay well within the MMA scene.
Yeah. And if you think about it, there's an easier way to go broke. It's called education.